What's going on, guys? It is Chris. I've been so excited to make this video for you guys. You guys are gonna love it. I'm gonna literally go in depth about my car. I'm going to tell you guys pretty much every little aspect about my car. Try to get some pictures in there and see what I can provide for you guys. Tell you guys what my future plans are, and yeah, what I got going on. My hand is doing this fucking weird thing. I don't know what's going on. And we are going to head that way. And yeah, I think you guys are gonna absolutely love it. I'm gonna tell you guys pretty much the gist of why I'm doing the build that I'm doing and what it means to me. You know, I have invested a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of my free spirit, if that makes sense, into this car. And you know, I've talked in the past about wanting to buy an R32, about wanting to sell it, buy something else. Literally, I had someone that wanted to come and look at my car, and 3 days later that oiling issue happened. And then not only that, but I was even in talks with somebody over in Pensacola, Florida, about a R32 GTR over there. And you know, it kind of sucks because GTR is something that I've always wanted, and I think in the future that's gonna be something I'm gonna get. Maybe, who knows, if fucking 5 years from now they're probably gonna be mad expensive, you know. And right now is like the prime time to get into it. The R33s are starting to come in, and then in the next 4 or 5 years the R35 is gonna be coming not R35, R34 is gonna be coming over. And yeah, and it's kind of, it'd be a prime time right now to buy one. I know I'm gonna have lost the time, I know I'm gonna have lost the money, but you know, everything about this isn't about money. It's about having fun. It's about doing what you love and getting behind the wheel of that car, and just either if it's VTEC, boost, hell, even full displacement, it doesn't matter. What you drive is what you drive, and you drive it for a reason. So keep that in mind when you guys are watching this video. This is all for me. It's something, like I said, I've wanted to do for a while, and I was hoping to get more out of it last summer with how much time, how much money I invested, and it didn't really work out. So this is what I'm going to do to get to where I want to go. All right, I'll see you guys in a second. All right, guys, I'm back. And so I got things on my screen to my left, so you guys are gonna love every second of this as I am going back and forth trying to, oh my god, this does not want to stay still. All right, we're gonna flip that over and see if that makes a difference. All right, I think we're good. I got everything up on my left, so I'm gonna be going back and forth watching, looking at everything and such. So currently, the list I got on my car, I have a IAG Stage 2 built block, H-beam rods, mainly pistons, not a closed deck block. The reason being is for, well, it was kind of unnecessary at the build time. Right now I'm kind of regretting it, but at the same time it really doesn't make as huge of a difference. I mean, fuck, dude, I say that, knock on wood, and I'm gonna blow ringlands everywhere. But yeah, so it is a IG Stage 2 block, H-beam rods, etc. If you guys look at the gapping between the sidewall of the cylinder and then of the block, the gap is so much smaller than the EJ's that it's not impossible to blow a head gasket, but at the same time it's not really likely. I mean, those blocks are rated for 650, 675 horsepower. Those Stage 2 blocks are. So you can probably reliably run 550, 500. I'm going to tell you guys what my end goal for horsepower is at the end of this video, what I want to get out of it, what I think I'm going to get out of it, and logically what's actually going to happen. So using the mindset of what happened last summer. So that being said, I'm going to kick it off going into my full build list on everything I got in that car to the T. So I have, if it sounds like I'm clicking, it is because I am, and it's because I have everything right here. I have, from the basics, I'm going to start with the exhaust. So the exhaust, or the car. Actually, I'm going to start with the car because you guys probably, you understand what a 2016 WRX is, but is a 2016 premium WRX sunroof, premium interior package, heated seats, stuff like that. So it is a nice car. It really is. Interior wise, it's super comfortable to drive, and I see absolutely no issue with it. Everybody's like, well, not everybody, a bunch of people have told me, oh, the sunroof adds so much weight, blah, blah, blah. In average, it adds about 100, 150 pounds. I really don't care. It's a goddamn sunroof. Who doesn't want a goddamn sunroof in their daily driving car? Fucking crazy, right? I know I live in Alaska. I don't use it 5 months out of the year, 8 months out of the year, but I don't really care. I lived in Oregon for a year. Screw me. Fuck that. But I have on it a set of Curva C300 wheels, on Firehawk 500, or not 5500s, Firehawk Indy 500 tires, and it is 18x9 with an offset of 32. So they're black. They are what's the term for it? It is like silica black. Beautiful wheels. Like $220 a fucking piece. I'm gonna have to buy a new one. But getting away from the shoes portion of it, the drivetrain going into that basis. Actually, I forgot to add one thing in. White line lowering springs. It rides a little bit stiffer. It's a tad bit lower. I mean, to the eye can see I look like I'm monster trucking with a little bit of poke. So, whatever. Stock brakes with stop tech pads. I stop on a dime. Even the stock pad stopped on a dime. Those brakes are bigger than old school WRX brakes, so I don't really care. STI transmission with STI front and rear axles. Just a heads up, I don't know if you guys know this, but after 2018, the front axles in WRXs and STIs, all the same, including the new body styles. The front axles are the same. So, but I have full STI axles, STI 6-speed transmission out of a 2018 STI. It had about 2,000 miles on it when I got it. It is on a ACT HD SS street sprung clutch. The clutch is okay. I mean, it bites at the top. That's what I hate. I hate the fact of where it bites at and the engagement point. It's not. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's really good if I'm like if I'm dragging the car, or not really dragging, but launching the car. Proper term. If I'm launching the car, it's actually a good clutch. It handles very, very well under high stress. It hates snow. When it's cold, it's cold. It will not warm up. I literally, for me to warm that clutch up, I would have to burn it. And it's fucking annoying, and it creates a lot of chatter. And there is a lot of chatter with that clutch because it's also on a lightweight flywheel. So, but yeah, R180 rear diff, also out of that same STI, same with those axles. The rear ones are actually brand new. When I ordered them, I wanted brand new rear axles. I didn't want used axles because I didn't know what condition they were going to come in, etc. Moving on to the motor, I've already told you it's an IAG Stage 2 block with built heads by GCH Long Block Racing, based out of Southern California. They are beehive springs and retainers, pretty much fully built heads. The only thing I didn't do was cams. I wasn't going to wait the 6 to 8 months on cams when I was building the car. I already waited May, June, July, August, September. Almost the end of August to the start of September. I waited 5 months almost for that car to be done. And that was painful. If I had to wait if I would have waited for the heads, I mean, I would have waited at least a year for that car to be done. And I didn't even have a car to drive. I was driving a little black MR2. That car was sick. Doesn't really matter. But yeah. Going back to the block. So that was the heads for the block. I have on it a Turbo XS top mount intercooler connected to a PRL charge pipe. That charge pipe is, I guess, super finicky to put on. I haven't had to take it off yet, so when they were putting my block back together and putting my motor back in my car, they put it on for me. So anyway, at this point, I'm about block $5,000, heads $3,000, transmission $5,000, and small bits that I've had to buy for it $500. So I'm looking right now at 17 grand. Is that what that math comes into? 1,700 bucks or 17 grand, sorry. And then relatively about 4 grand for 4 grand for install, plus the oil cooler, and then my water methanol install. For all those parts and installs, I paid about 4 grand for that. So that's about 20 grand into that car. And mind you, that happened all last year. That didn't include the oil changes, the wheels, tire setup, stuff like that I also did over the short period of time. That was a big pain in the ass. Still paying off part of that. So going into more parts I have on the car itself. At this point, the reason that I did those things is I wanted to get my car back. At the same time, I knew that I was going to push that car, so I wanted to have the capability of pushing the car and not worrying about breaking it, if that made sense. And at that time, I was actually looking for 400, 450 wheel minimum. Like, that's what I wanted out of that car. I was seeing people do it on even smaller setups than I was even running. And so that wasn't a big deal. I thought it was going to happen. I thought I was at minimum going to make 350, 400, but I'm getting to that in a minute. Added on to that, the other aftermarket parts I have a full NVIDIA exhaust, J-pipe, mid-pipe to N1 catback, attached to an STX 71 turbo, which is connected to a Mishimoto intake and CNT headers. So a little backstory behind why I chose those headers and why I chose that intake. It was between the Cobb intake and the parent intake. The reason I chose the Mishimoto, I did a bunch of research on which one flowed the best, sounded the best, and I brought sound into it. I wanted that sound. I like the sound of turbo spool. And if you guys watch videos or hear it, you guys will understand. Like, it sounds absolutely sweet. The Mishimoto was the literal direct in-between between the parent and the Cobb for power output, sound, etc. The Cobb was more power, the parent was more sound. The parent had pretty much the same, I guess, power output for the Mishimoto, but I liked the sound of the Mishimoto more than the parent. That's how it came down to it. And a lot of people hated the Mishimoto intake, hate the Mishimoto intake. I don't really care. I like it, and seems to be in step one of the best intakes for tuning. So some people say that it has problems, some people don't. You're gonna have that with whatever you choose. So then when I got the turbo, we were noticing a lot of back pressure buildup on that turbo. So to alleviate that, I got headers. I got the CNT headers. They were cheap. They held up well. They had good power output, etc. One thing that just popped into my mind that I want to say and not forget. Mind you, the WRX transmission and such has a lot less drivetrain loss than the STI transmission. That transmission's heavier. Those axles are heavier, and pretty much I was looking at a 20% growth of not 20%, but a high growth in drivetrain loss when I put that transmission in. So when I got those things, and like I said earlier, turbo test top mount PR charge pipe, I have a GFB, what is it called? GFB. I can change the aperture of the atmosphere or the full recirc. I can change it. It's the GFB response blow off valve, GFB VF2, whatever it is. I have that on there. And then EGR delete, and then Radium Engineering TGV deletes. The reason I chose Radium Engineering is because at the time, the only 3 people that had them out were Radium, Perrin, and Mishimoto. And Radium Engineering was one of those companies that I had heard of. I knew they made great parts. I knew that they didn't have issues, and people loved them. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get them. I got the black with the green lettering, and it looks absolutely sick. And that was part of, I guess, I like some things aesthetic. I like aesthetic pleasing things. It's why I chose the car I got, because I like it, and I like how it looks. So, blow me. Then combined with that, I have the AEM water methanol injection kit. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I put something, like I didn't put something down. I'm like losing my mind at what it is. But pretty much the car was full bolt-ons plus. Like the turbo is the plus portion of that. Some people say it in stages. I mean, if I was to go down the Cobb way of like power stages, I mean, when I first got that car, it was completely stock. Oh, and I have an access port. I have a Cobb access port. It's a fucking handheld life monitor. That's all it really is. It's a handheld, like, what was the term that someone said to me? All it really does is strike fear in you when it looks like something bad happened. Everything, car's electronic, and a lot of shit's fucking random. So, but yeah, so that's what I have on the car right now. I'm gonna go down the list of things that I want to do, what I've planned on doing, and kind of the way I want to take this car. So first off, I'm gonna start with fueling. So the high pressure fuel pump from Nostrum, I don't know how to pronounce it. I've been doing a lot of research. A lot of people say that the high pressure fuel pump in that car is good. It's good on E85 ethanol, but it starts to lose its pressure. Its usage decreases. Mine's pushing almost 50,000 miles. I'd probably look at replacing it within the next 30 to 60. So I'm gonna replace that with a high pressure fuel pump. A good one that can handle ethanol and is backed by a lot of not just tuners but people who use it consistently. And Nostrum makes great products, from what I've deducted from not just reading but looking at cars that are using it. So that's what a lot of my research is based on, looking at what people are doing, what tuners say about it, what people say about it in forums. And yeah, the only other best way to tell if it's going to work for you is actually putting it on your car. So then the next fuel pump is going to be the in-tank fuel pump, which is going to end up being probably a DW300 with the install kit, and stuff like that, because the fuel pump is super weird in the tank, on the BRZs and the WRXs. So I got to do a little bit of fabbing, and I guess it's super easy and a lot of people do it. So the next refueling is going to be the flex fuel kit from Cobb. Reason is because, again, I want to run ethanol. Up in Alaska, it's super expensive, so I plan on doing only like a E50 blend, E60 blend max, so I don't burn a 55-gallon barrel in fucking 2 months, and have to spend another $500 to get a barrel. And yes, I am going to mix it. I'm going to run both water methanol and ethanol. So whenever I'm running just 90 and I want to run water meth, I will. Moving on from that, the next thing I'm looking at is getting rid of that blow-off valve. That blow-off valve, I like it. I like the sound of it. Again, one of those things, I chose sound and quality over, I guess, performance of it. I guess it has some problems performance-wise. Actually, not. I guess I know it does. Sorry if you guys can hear that. When my neighbor is running his shower, you can hear it through the wall, and it's super annoying. It's super loud. So that's what that sound is. If you can hear it, in my past vlogs, I haven't heard it. So, yeah. So that, moving on to more air induction and stuff like that. I will probably move to the parent intake. Reason being is it's shorter piping, and just as big of a cone. Not really a cone, it's like a cylinder. And I want to move towards that for the sole reason that more air, more airflow, more power, etc. So that's one thing I'm looking at. Haven't fully decided if that's what I'm going to do. I've contemplated just getting a MAF extension and literally taking one of the Mishimoto pipes, making it this long, and putting a goddamn MAF sensor in it and putting the cone on it. The only worry about that would be water and stuff like that in my intake, but I would probably run a box for that. So, and then run an air induction vent to it, like the ARP or APR, etc. the next thing is a front mount intercooler. I'm on the fence between a Turbo XS and ETS. The ETS is a lot bigger, and literally, like, if here's the ETS intake or front mount, here's the Turbo XS front mount. Like, it's a giant difference, and the ETS one looks absolutely sick when it's behind your grill, because it's that big. It goes behind not just the bottom part of your front bumper, but your grill too. So, and I got 2 bumpers, so I plan on cutting one up for literally just daily racing, or not daily racing, racing. Whenever I take it out to the drag strip, stuff like that. So, that's the ETS. Oh, black to the blow-off valve. The one I'm looking at right now is the HKS Super Q, the Super SQ4. It is absolutely sick sounding, in my opinion. I think if I would have chose that blow-off valve instead of GFB, I would never move from it. So that, and then pretty much getting down to the other thing, in the future, for aesthetically pleasing reasoning, the MXP dual exit exhaust, dual tip, dual exit. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's pretty much, if here's the exhaust hole, right? Here's the muffler, and then here is the exit. It just looks so sick, and I love the look of it, and I think that it would just be super cool to see that exhaust with flames coming out of it, because nonetheless, that's going to happen. But down to the bread and butter, down to the bee's knees on what I wanted to, like, completely tell you guys. ETS big turbo kit. The kit comes with a J pipe, mid pipe, God, I am fucking losing my goddamn mind. The J pipe, mid pipe, the headers, dual wastegates, turbo lines, etc. Right, and then the full thing is a Precision 6266 turbo. That turbo is capable of 750, I think, at max peak. That's where it's looked at. Probably proficiency range 550, 600 is where it will actually shine at. I'm gonna hit boost at 4,000 RPM nonetheless. The Gen 2's Precisions, I believe, are twin scroll. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, I'm gonna hit full boost at 4,000 RPM, and I'm gonna carry it all the way to redline, which neither the stock turbo, neither the Steam Speed STX 71 carry. It's ridiculous. That turbo will be super powerful, and I'm gonna shit my pants. I'm excited, not for shitting my pants, but for that turbo. A reason that I chose that turbo over a 5858 or a 6062 or anything, or 6466, I'll break them down by section. 5858, it spools fast, it'll carry to redline, but it's not enough air for me, in the sense of it won't get me to where I want to be. It could probably get me 400s. That's cool. The 6062, the power range that I'm looking at, it's kind of pushing the end of where that turbo's proficiency is at. And I really don't like that idea anymore. I would have, because it's like $200 or $300 cheaper, but I'd rather pay that money, and then for the future I have a turbo that will carry whatever I want. And then the 66, it doesn't hit full boost until super late. And at the same time, it doesn't really do what I want it to do. I mean, I'm gonna hit full boost at like closer to $5,000 instead of $4,000, and I'm currently hitting boost at like max boost at like 3,400 RPM, and I love the feel of immediate torque. I don't know why. It breaks axles, it breaks diffs and stuff like that, and blows motors. Happens. But that would help save me, I guess, in the long run. It'd give me more top end power. But for what I want to do, I don't need that. I would rather hit boost about 1,000 RPMs earlier and lose that 100 horsepower at the end. Not really worth it for $300 for me. And then, what's the next step up? Like, 6876 or whatever it is, way too powerful, not for what I want. So oh, the 5860 is the other one that I was talking about. The 5860, same kind of scenario with the 5858. It's pushing more towards what it can be. It can be capable of what I want it to do, but it's not really worth it price range wise, and at the same time not really worth it for what I want to do. So that's, at the end of the day, not really something that I care as much about, that turbo in that sense. So down to what I made when I first got my car back, from, actually, let's go back a little bit, from when I first got it tuned on full bolt-ons down to what it made after it got done, and then what I want and what I expected. So when I did full bolt-ons, I was expecting somewhere between 280 and 330, and I was okay if it made 280 to 330. That would have been absolutely phenomenal. I think I ended up making 280, the lower end of that spectrum. I didn't fully take into the account the gas difference. I didn't take into account the turbo proficiency, and then at the same time when we were tuning, when I got towards the end of my graph, where, if here's the graph, the turbo, or not turbo, the car power, it kind of does this. It plummets after about 5,800 RPM, and it's fucking annoying. Like, but on that decline, it started to break up, and we didn't know what it was, so we didn't want to push it too much. We didn't want to throw fuel additives in it and see if that fixed it, and run the risk of, you know, something actually being more wrong. So we waited, came down to the deduction of it's actually probably the turbo, and the turbo was just breaking up, and it just wasn't doing what it could have done, you know. So I made about 280, 315 torque, which was great for torque. I mean, on a stock block car, on stuff like that, 315 torque wasn't gonna hurt shit. So I thought. Then we did the turbo. I did the turbo. I gained about 7 horsepower. 7. You heard me. 7. I spent $1,800 on this turbo, and I made 7 more horsepower. You know how mad I was? I was so pissed. I was like, what? How? How did I only make 7 more horsepower? And this turbo is meant for 350, 400, 450 horsepower. What? Again, came back to back pressure buildup, not enough air. And it just caused the turbo to stall out and flatline pretty much. I carried power a little bit better. I had some fun on my way back. I remember this pretty vividly. There was a RS1, RS2. Here, give me a second. It was like the track ready. ZL2. I think it's ZL2. ZL2? Yeah, it was a ZL2, because that's exactly what it looked like. It was a ZL2 Camaro. On my way home, my buddy Thomas and I, we were on the highway, and this ZL2 Camaro sees me and just flies by me, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And he like slows down. I look over, it's him and his girlfriend, and he honks at me and just like drops a gear and like nudges forward like he wants to race. And I'm like, all right, cool. All in Mexico, by the way. And so I'm like, all right. So I dropped the third, and I'm like, okay, I'm about 50, 60 miles per hour, third gear. I'm gonna top it probably 70, 80, swap, right? Go to fourth. We went. He jumped me, and we went, and I hear him honk, and I'm like, whatever, like he's just fucking around. And I hear him go to his next gear, and I grab fourth, because we're going about probably 80s, 90s. I grab fourth, and it went from this to this in a matter of, I don't know, 15, 20 horsepower, not horsepower, miles per hour. Like I caught up and got past him, and then by the time I got to fifth, it was just, I could still hear him like shifting gears and going, and I was just like, no goddamn way I just put the Hurt on a ZL. Like, there's no way. At 300 horsepower and like 320 torque. And I was like, oh, I made like almost 350 torque on that turbo, or almost 345 torque or whatever. And then it had to be toned back because I didn't want to blow my motor. And so I was like, no goddamn way, right? Mind you, all my sessions were on a dyno. They weren't street tuned. People say street tuning is a little bit more in depth with your car because road conditions versus dyno conditions are a lot different. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever, not a big deal. And so I get home, I left for basic, and I was like, no one drove my car, blah, 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 right? I get back 3 weeks into me being home, my third and fourth gear go out. No idea what happened. I literally was driving home, and I came around a corner. I went to go from second to third, went to grab third, and it just went straight into gear. Nothing, no engagement, nothing. I was like, try grabbing fourth, wouldn't even come out of gear. So I was like, okay, dropped the clutch, pushed it in, went to go pull out of gear, nothing, pumped it 3 times, grabbed and pulled it out. And it came out, and I was like, okay, no crunch, no nothing. I went to grab fourth, wouldn't go into fourth. I was like, what the hell is going on? Pulled over, turned off my car, turned it back on. For some reason I thought that would fix it. I don't know why. It's a manual part. I'm an idiot. I put it in a second, put it in first, put it in reverse to reset all of my synchros. Put it in third, it engaged third, and I'm like, okay, cool. Pulled it out of third, went to first, started going. Well, when I came off the clutch to start going first, mind you, it sounded like it engaged first. Didn't go straight in. It sounded like it literally engaged first gear. I put it in a first gear, started rolling, came off the clutch, and I see, because in the middle of the WRX's tacks, there's a electronic gear sensor. It tells you what gear you're in, pretty much, right? I go to come off the clutch, I see it read 3, I slam my foot down on the clutch, pull it into neutral. Sorry, so it only records for like 30 minutes. Sorry, my apologies, guys. So I came off the clutch, pulled it out of first gear, turned off the car. When I pulled it out of first gear, it went straight out. I came off the clutch, and I didn't realize that it came fully straight out. I came off the clutch, car stalled out. I was like, what the hell? I threw it in first gear when the car was off, engaged first, started the car with it in gear, came off the clutch, and it was in first gear. Went to second, went to go to third while driving to like see what would happen, completely straight in. Both third and fourth completely straight in, and it was not good. I drove it home. I drove it as minimal as I had to, pretty much, over the next like couple months. I only drove it like once a week, just to like get it moving. And I was driving home, and I had taken it to work one day, and I'm on the highway, and I dropped from 6th to 5th, because with those 411 gearing, if I was at about 50 miles per hour, 40 miles per hour in second gear, I could go to 5th. It wasn't a big deal. My RPMs were about 2,800, and I could roll onto it and be super safe about it. But I'm coming off the highway, and I'm going about 70-ish. I drop 6th to 5th, and all I hear is duh, and it just popped. And I just see my oil light come on, my access port red, negative like 12 knock, no knock after that. That's all I saw. It popped up, and it just stayed there, right? I immediately slammed on my brakes, ripped over towards the sidewall, and like turned off the car to turn it off. Manual brakes stopped from about 50 miles per hour. Probably the scariest thing that I had ever done. I I turned off the car, but I left it so I had power steering, pretty much, if that makes sense to you guys. I still didn't have power brakes, because when you do that, you don't have power brakes, but you have power steering. And so it was scary. It was absolutely probably one of the most scariest things that I've had to do, because from the off-ramp to a stop sign is about 300 yards. I had 300 yards to stop with manual brakes. By the time that this happened, I was probably halfway up, so it was actually probably closer to 150 yards. At about 150 yards, which is about half of a football field, manual brakes, I am stomping on them. It is still snow and ice outside, and at the same time, there are cars on the road. So I'm in the right lane, and there are cars in the left lane, and I'm trying to steer to the right, stay towards the sidewall, and slam on my brakes. And I can see smoke coming from my engine bay. And I'm just like, this can't be happening, right? And so I stop, I get out, I throw open my hood, because I'm like, if this is going to catch fire, it's going to catch fire, and I would rather it have the air to catch fire instead of blowing up my whole goddamn car. I immediately pulled out my phone, about ready to call 911, and no flame, no nothing. I just saw smoke and oil everywhere. All on my hood, all on my engine bay, everything. Everything was coated. My top mount was practically black. It was a silver top mount. And at that point, I was like, there's no way that this just happened to me. I had a bunch of things. Like, that was the end of 3 terrible things that happened to me over a 6-month period, pretty much. And it was just like, man, this sucks. Like, I don't know what to do, you know? So I pretty much I sat there and just in a complete disarray, didn't know what to do. Called my friends, called them, and they came, 2 of my buddies came and just sat with me and waited for my tow truck and stuff like that for me to get home. I got home. When we had put it on the trailer, there was oil on the ground, and it wasn't bad. It was on snow and ice and whatever. Fuck the environment. Got it on the truck, got on the flatbed, and then pretty much got home. Within a week, it got taken out to P3, and it got built. That's when I started buying parts. That's when I started buying everything, pretty much to get everything set up that I could get that car back hopefully by July, and that was what I wanted. Sadly, that didn't happen. It was an extra about 3 weeks, and yeah. But when I got it back, my end goal for that car, like I said, I wanted 450, 500 out of it. That would have been an absolute monster of a car, and it would have been a ton of fun to drive. I would have absolutely loved it at that power goal. Now, fast forwarding a couple months, I got it back. I did the break-in portion of it, and I did the tune and stuff like that, and it got put on the dyno for its race tune. It made 289 at 320 something torque. The look on my face when I saw those numbers, my heart sank. I just dumped a ton of money into this car. It still had the bolt-on parts. Nothing really broke. The turbo was completely fine. There wasn't even metal in the turbo. Like the block itself, cylinder 3 is what went. Broke a wrist pin, which is pretty much where the piston is, and then the rod connects to the piston. There is a beam that goes through that, and if this is the side of a piston, you see that hole, that it goes through one side and then out the other with the rod in between right here. So that snapped, and the rod pretty much went like this in my motor. The bottom was complete. The bottom of the block was destroyed. Top of the block was destroyed. Everything was destroyed. The heads were warped. My passenger side head was warped, and it was brutal. So I got everything out of that car that I could, pretty much, and it got put on that car, and that's when it got the water methanol. It got the oil cooler. Got everything. So, which was great. I was really happy. But then it only made those numbers, and at that point I was like, what can I do to get boost those numbers. I could have ran ethanol. I could have done a couple different things to even get over 350. And at that point, I was just like, right now I can't. Like, not just from a monetary side of it, but I just want to enjoy driving my car. I'm fine with where it's at, right? I hated the numbers, but at the same time, like, I still love my car. So coming to where we're at now, with the turbo kit, the fuel lines and everything, or not fuel lines, the fuel pumps and the front mount and the blow-off valve. I kind of gave a breakdown on what most of those parts were good up to, but I never gave a full rundown of what I want out of my car. That car is going to see 500 horsepower sometime in its life, and I'm going to own it at that point. And that's what the goal is right now. That's why I want that turbo. That's why I want the front mount. That's why I want everything. That car is going to see 500 horsepower, and I will be damned if it doesn't. I've put so much time, so much love into that car that I can't see it now not at that power that I want it. And I can't even fathom somebody else owning it. It's like a relationship. You love somebody, and even if after you guys break up, it hurts to see them with somebody else, right? Because, not because they're happy, or that it's because it's just the look on their face. Seeing somebody else do that to this car would absolutely break my heart, because I couldn't get it to where that was. And it wasn't from a monetary standpoint. It was actually from a physical standpoint of, what can I do to get it to that point? And so now I'm at that point where I'm like, you know what, we're going balls to the wall. We're giving it the bee's knees. And I'll be damned if I don't see that car at 500 horsepower. Did I really just use a relationship analogy? Oh my god. What is wrong with me? Anyway, so yeah, this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while. That's been on my mind past week. I got something cool kind of coming. We'll see when it works out, when it doesn't. I'm trying to line things up. Today it was looking like it was gonna happen, but it sadly didn't. So this was one that I knew I was gonna record. Just didn't know when. I didn't know if it was going to be today, this past weekend, or sometime this week. That's why I was kind of preparing for this video the past 2 days, and on top of that, I didn't sleep Sunday night, so I was literally running 30 hours of no sleep up until about 5 o'clock yesterday, and I took a 3-hour nap, which put me at 8 o'clock, and damn, I was like, I woke up, and I'm like, I can't even record, I can't get in front of a camera, because I can't even comprehend a goddamn sentence. So I pretty much just sat there and looked at videos and did the whole outline for this video, and then my future video that might be coming this week. I don't know. I'm a little bit mad about it. But this was a long video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I actually love talking about my car, so I will do this whenever I can. I want to do some interior stuff too, but right now I'm like, you know what, fuck it. You don't have to look good to go fast, and like I said, I'll be damned if I don't see that car at 500. Have a great time, guys. Have a wonderful day.